We are live. Eric Butler. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions. UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
It's great here, a lot of fat chicks and a lot of screaming.
Andrew and Eric, a couple of conspiracy retards.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cock-a-doodly-doodly-doo, man. Hello. Eric, can you hear me? I don't hear Eric. Wow, what a start. We're off to a flying start. Eric, you're going to have to leave and come back. We're back with Unauthorized Opinions, uopod.com, patreon.com/uopod. We're growing every single week, and we've got so much to get to. So much Ukraine. Shilling. Zelensky, Shilling. They brought somebody they shouldn't have brought into the Parliament of Canada, and everybody applauded. Travis Kelce of the NFL. So much shilling. Pharmaceutical companies. Taylor Swift. Ukraine again. Oh my God, there's no escape. There's also Howard Stern shilling. I guess it never ends. Adidas. I don't know if you can call that shilling. While we wait for Eric, we can give you an update on everything we're working on. We're trying to figure out a trip again to get you guys more content from the streets. As I mentioned, our Patreon is growing, and there is a new video up for myself on youtube.com/AndrewDoes. I asked people if they would remask. You can find that on andrewsaystv.com. All my links are there. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but you have to know. If you don't know, now you know. The NFL is shifting into shilling overdrive. Very disappointing. Now, there's this player. He's a bit of a superstar. His name is Travis Kelce. Here he is. And he had a Bud Light commercial, but he didn't touch the can because you're not allowed to if you're in the NFL. And, now he's rumored to be dating Taylor Swift and everything. It's pretty wild. I don't really care about that, but if you didn't know, of course, Taylor Swift is a bit of a big deal, and she has multiple times come out and supported Democrat candidates, and she's also called Trump the whole white supremacy deal, so you know what you're really getting, and it shouldn't be any surprise that these people are coming together. Now, I see Taylor Swift as a bit of a, conservative women's version of Andrew Tate, and I don't mean she's had any campsites. What I mean is conservative women, if you can call them that, and conservative men, if you can call them that in this situation, they will excuse everything for the few points that a person makes. And we are joined by Eric Butler, who is live from, I don't know, what's your hat say?
Oh, outdoorsy. This is can you hear me? How's my audio?
Yeah, your audio is great, young man.
I, as you know, was recently at the Grand Canyon, and they
Eric, you're frozen again. I don't know what's going on, but your audio was great. Your video looks... There you go. Oh, you're coming back through a little bit. He's now blinking in disgust. We don't know what's going on with him. There he is. He's back in 240p. All right, his connection says it's low. We're going to have to check in with Eric in a second once I see him moving. He's gone. And now he's back. He's still frozen, though. He's still frozen.
I can hear
He's
you.
blinking. I can hear you now. You were saying Grand Canyon?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to pair my channel, so we're running a little bit behind schedule today. I'm trying to pair my channel. I'm wearing some Grand Canyon, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, I think we have you full in effect now.
Just bear with pair. Hang on. Just here.
He's overloading his system right now. I promise you guys we're going to get to Travis Kelce in a second. These are and while I'm at it, I got to complain about Getter.
That's literally exactly what I'm doing.
I got to complain about Getter, who has like 3 different ways to go live these days. There's an old studio, the studio that we were using, and now they have a new thing to use, and it'll let you set up the live stream in the second version, I guess, of the studio. And then when you go live, you can't see if it's live. So if there's any data or images or information missing for the Getter viewers, please let us know. Eric is now live on his channel, Report and Opine on YouTube. So, Eric, we're talking about lots of shilling.
Did we make it? Hang on. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It looks like we made it. Finally. All right. Well, a little bit of growing
Together
pains.
we made it.
We're working on the new.
Against the wall.
I don't know why you always insist on singing, but we made it. A little bit of growing pains. Can I finish my sentence, please? We're going through a little bit of growing pains. We're trying to set up the new studio here, but it feels like it looks okay. It sounds okay. We're a couple minutes behind schedule, but we're moving on. Correct?
Oh, I'm allowed to talk now? Yes. Yes, this is correct. So we're getting into a huge shilling. Welcome, everybody, on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, Getter, and even the other platforms we don't know about yet in time. But we're getting into so much shilling. We're going to start with the NFL. Travis Kelce, gigantic superstar, best tight end in the league. They say he's got a tight end. He's the best one in the league. Allegedly dating Taylor Swift, who we all know is promoted Democrats, called Trump a white supremacist. He was in a Bud Light commercial. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, even though he's not allowed to touch the can because they're not allowed to promote drinking technically. And now Travis Kelce is doing a V-word commercial, pharmaceutical commercial. Let's just see it. Let's just see how far he's willing to go.
19 shot when you get your flu shot?
2 things at once.
2 things at once! 2 things at once!
I'll have the 2 things at once, please. Now back to 2 things at once. 2 things at once.
That's not 2 things at once.
Mom!
Travis, ask about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Whoa! Get your COVID-19 shot. Isn't it so cool, bro? You can get it two different vaccines at once. Now, we could go ahead and talk about the flu vaccine if we want, Eric, even though we're not allowed to question any of that on YouTube. Shout out Rumble, shout out Getter, shout out Twitter, because you could talk about that stuff. Vaccines for the flu, go ahead. I just want to say, go ahead and look up the efficacy of those. I'm not questioning them. I would never do that. I would never question the efficacy of a flu vaccine because it's amazing. But if you go up and check on people's own data, it ranges, let's just say, wildly in effectiveness. I would never question that because I'm better than that. I believe in the science. But Travis Kelce, when I first saw this, Eric, yesterday, I thought, well, this must have been from 2020 or 2021, I mean, when everything was first coming out. And I was like, I don't like it. I would never support it. But you have to give, in the sense of leeway for that, it would be more understandable to have done it back then, even though I don't agree with it at all. And I wouldn't be a fan of a person who did that. Because it's like, you watch a channel and there's 35 pharmaceutical commercials, and it's like, would this person do a commercial for something that has the probable cause of death if it's mixed with whatever, all the stuff at the end? But this was actually brand new. This is his latest post on his social media, and obviously, why would you question that? He's got it's for U.S. residents only. He's got all the data on there. Ask your doctor or pharmacist. But now, after everything we've been through, Eric, through the last 3 years, the NFL and all their controversies as well, he's just going to go ahead and say, "I don't care." This is a soulless person. I'm going to say.
Well, of course, it's all completely soulless, but I would actually say it's the exact opposite. I would say it's worse to endorse this at the beginning, not knowing anything about it, because right now it's very clear cut that it's just a money play. Like then they were pretending to be, oh, this is about health and science and wellness, even though they didn't know anything about it. So that's almost worse. Now it's very clear cut. I would venture to say that 99.8% of people can see through it, which is why he has disabled the comments on that post. And you go to the next post right before it, and you see thousands of comments of people saying, we can see right through this, and not so many words. And as far as that commercial is concerned, wasn't there a great little tidbit of information about this season's 1919 shot? It's like, okay, so without I mean, and they've been sprinkling this on us for a long time, but it's just they throw it in there. Oh yeah, get this season's right there. How many times were we told that this was nothing like the flu, and then they're literally promoting it just like a flu shot from decades past? Right? Like we were told at the very beginning, this is nothing like the flu. You're a conspiracy theorist, and now it's like, oh no, you're gonna have to get it every year, just like the flu shot. It's all absolutely ridiculous, and I can almost respect it a little bit more in a weird way, because he knows, we know, everybody knows it's just about money. At the beginning, when people were pretending that they knew about it, but they didn't, that is almost worse. But I can see both sides of this argument. Either way, this guy is a complete and total hack. And as far as the Taylor Swift thing, I at first people were saying that they were 100% dating, and then like his brother came out and said they were dating, and then some other reports said that he wishes he was dating her only in his dreams. So just a little side note on what's really happening with that. Who knows? Taylor Swift is an awful shill as well, even though people really seem to love her, mostly women, I suppose.
For sure, she has been pictured at his game today as an update to that story. But I could easily see this. It gets so much play in the news, in the entertainment news, that they could just be like, just show up at his game and you guys will remain in the headlines for weeks to come. So that could just be an easy play. This is people who are well oiled in the machine, let's say, and they know exactly what they're doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's had enough publicity. He has 2 Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes knows what he's doing. He has Bud Light commercials too. Or maybe it was Miller or something, but he did his own beer commercial and they're not allowed to touch it. So he's just said he's selling a baseball bat or whatever it was. And they know how to get around these things. But if we look into his eyes, Eric, this is a guy that doesn't care. This is a guy
exactly.
Take my vaccine, take this beer. I'm going to do whatever I want. In 10 years, you're not going to remember this. But for right now, I hope that any Kansas City Chiefs fan, which is a very strong fan base, given their recent success, would say, to hell with you. But then again, Eric, we have teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is in North Florida, next to Georgia. This isn't exactly a bastion of blue voting. They have a transgender cheerleader. So I think that...
Oh, I thought that was the Carolina Panthers.
You're right. Carolina Panthers.
Is that the Jaguars?
No, you're right. It was the Carolina Panthers. I think
they have similar colors.
North Carolina. I mean, they were both cats. I confuse on my Wildcats. But North Carolina, also not a very blue place. I think there is this very hard complacency that football fans, and I'm a big football fan myself, there's a lot of excuse making because they love football so much. And if it was a worse sport, then I'd say it'd probably be easier to ignore it. But just like NASCAR, what's his name? Bubba Wallace, the fake news, their diversity programs. At some point, people are going to have to stick to their guns. And it seems like the only time that they actually have a problem with the stuff is kind of when it's on the field.
Bubba Smollett.
But only when it's from a player, which is weird. It's weird though. They had like end racism and crap in the end zones and everything. It seems to me that there's a contingency enough to they could put anything out and nothing will happen. They can go ahead and they can just paint the field black for a black square month, and the NFL fans would do anything. I'm lucky enough that I'm a fan of a team that hasn't done any of that stuff.
What team is that?
The Denver Broncos.
Okay.
And we can
How
get
could I
to
forget? How could I forget that you were a fan of the Denver Broncos? And I want to mention too. I know this is a little bit off base, but when we talk about all the racism stuff, do you remember? I think it was back in the news recently that the NAACP declared Florida like a no-go zone,
yeah.
and let me tell you, after having spent some months in Florida, I could tell you the black population out there, for the most part, is not worried about much. Like, I mean, like think about where was it? It was
Like
somewhere
it's
in
not
Florida.
rough. Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's the black people in Florida, and now obviously I can't speak for all of them, but they're not worried about Ron DeSantis. They're not worried about,
Mm.
oh, I feel so threatened, dog. They're doing their thing. I promise you that. As Sexy Red, who had her video shoot shot up in a certain part of Florida. I forget. It was probably Miami Beach or something, but like, it's just so funny how we constantly see this. We can see it with the Travis Kelce comments. We could see it on DJ Academics comments, DJ Vlad comments. All of the people that were told are supposed to be acting one certain way. The numbers just aren't adding up. Like when I say number, like it gives me a little bit of hope, right? When you get so black pilled and like everything doom and gloom. But which this might actually make it worse because they can see that people don't want it and they force it anyways. So I don't know. I don't know which way to take that.
Cam Patterson, comedian from Orlando, Florida, he said it was pretty rough there in the same way you're talking. I don't know if you've heard of him. Have you? He's hilarious. He carries around rocks in his pockets. He's just a really funny guy. Kill Tony guy.
No, I've not heard of him.
Cam with K. Check him out. But we're going to have a very smooth transition here, Eric, in the Shilling. This one is still with the NFL, and it's going to transition very smoothly because the New York Jets today are wearing...
Hang on, before we go, are we good? Are we still good? I'm feeling paranoid.
Everything's good. Don't be paranoid.
All right.
You know, the white man's looking over. He's got that racism shadow behind him, you guys. The white man. So the NFL's New York Jets, who famously were parading out Aaron Rodgers as their savior this year, tore his Achilles.
Didn't work well.
And, you know, he was anti-vax. He, you know, you can't tell him to shut up. He does whatever. He's got a Super Bowl. He makes $30 million a year. He's injured now. So then they've immediately rolled out the Ukraine flag on the back of the helmet. I was also told that they're flashing the Ukraine support on the screen behind the end zone. It goes Ukraine, America, then Jets is the order I was told. That's hearsay, but that's the order I was told the graphics were going. And, you know, I just feel like, Eric, Aaron Rodgers is injured, as I said on X. He's gone. He can't talk anything about this. Let's just roll up the Shilling. I don't know why the New York Jets were the team to do it, but it's very strange timing. I'm confident saying Aaron Rodgers would be like, I'm not doing that. Why would they?
I don't. I'm not confident in saying that. I like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, from what I know about him, right? Like, I think first of all is that he was out there watching Tom Brady, you know, win Super Bowls at age 40 or whatever, and he was like, I got to do it too. It's like, dog, you could have quit while you were ahead. But I'm not so sure that he would, because this one, as much as I can't stand the alleged money laundering and war crimes that are going on there and that have probably been going on there for decades, this one's not quite as extreme, right? So forcing somebody to inject something in their body is not quite as bad as slapping a logo on a helmet. So I'm not 100% sure Aaron Rodgers would stand up to this. But there's another thing that has always bothered me about the New York Jets and the New York Giants is that they're both New York teams. Neither one of them actually play in New York.
Yeah.
And what are we doing? It's all fake.
Have the Giants changed yet? Have they gone into a new stadium in New York, or are they still in the same New Jersey?
They both play at the same stadium in New Jersey, I believe.
Yeah, it's weird how a lot of people do that, but theirs is specific to it being in a different state. You know, the New England Patriots, Foxborough's in New England. Sunrise, Florida is where the Florida Panthers play, but it's still in Florida. The Arizona, there's tons of that sort of stuff. And it's really weird. Ottawa Senators in Canada, if we're talking hockey, they play in a place called Kanata. So
Even the San
people do all the
Francisco 49ers are an hour outside of San Francisco.
Very cool. They are very. Hopefully, they move. All San Francisco teams should move to boycott San Francisco. But I digress. And this is a seamless transition, Eric, into more Ukraine stuff. And the Ukraine stuff has been rampant for the last 3 days. And the first one I'm going to point to is the hiring of the spirit cooking lady herself, Marina Abramovich, is going to be an ambassador for Ukraine to do what? She's going to help them
With schools or something?
Yeah, rebuilding schools. That's what you want, Eric. You want a Satanist lady who is pictured with all the elites and teaches them how to do spirit cooking ceremonies. That's who you want in rebuilding your schools. Certainly nothing can go wrong with that. So if you're not familiar, Marina Abramovich has been pictured with all the celebrities you have suspected of being, one, paid by the government, and two, allegedly also hearsay, specifically not known by me, considered to be Satanists and devil worshippers and everything. She's been with the Clintons. She's been with Lady Gaga, Beyonce and Jay-Z, John Podesta, all these people. And what is spirit cooking? If we want to go back to the emails of the Hillary Clinton, Trump election cycle, the Clinton emails, the Podesta emails, spirit cooking involves taking male bodily fluids, let's call it, plus blood, throwing it against the wall. I'm not kidding about any of this. You can look this up. And then you cut your hand open and you suck the blood. And they say something to the effect of suck the pain away or something like that, or suck in the pain, release to something else. That's the only part I'm not sure about what they chant during it. But that's literally what she does. And we can go ahead and find pictures of her doing this stuff. She's even got a YouTube video about how to do it. Like, it's way out in the open, but I'll read a little bit of this and then I'll find some of the pictures. Abramovich, a fierce critic of Putin's illegal invasion. Like, why would she be a fierce critic? Like, she's a weird art person. Like, why? Like, the 76-year-old Serbian is holding her first solo exhibit in the UK and the first female artist.
Also, she's nearly 80 years old. Let's not forget about that. On top of all of that, it's like you're getting close to 80. Let's bring you into the political realm because this is where we like, it's ridiculous.
Visitors to the exhibition must squeeze between two nude models to enter the show. See, they're sick people, Eric. That means you can't bring a kid there, but they want you to. I was the first artist to support the Ukraine war against Russia and to give my voice. That can't be true. It is definitely a repetition of history. Not true. I mean, what? When did... never mind. I have been invited by Zelensky to be an ambassador of Ukraine to help the children affected by rebuilding schools and such. I'd like to point out here, Eric, that she's openly talking about how she's the first person to speak out against this. She's brought on by Zelensky to help Ukraine. And then what's her first... The first thing you see at her art exhibit is two nude models. I love... And let's help the children. Here's nude models.
It's kind of a slap in the face, right? Like, this is definitely a power play. It's like, what are you going to... They're telling you, like, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. These are the people in charge. These are the people that we want. If you question any of it, then you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're a crazy person. Like, they just beat people into submission. It's the same thing with the alphabet agenda, right? Like, people know, a lot of people see through it, but they realize that they are not allowed to talk about it, right? I mean, I will continue to say this. When you talk to most people without a camera, without a microphone or anything, they'll tell you the truth. But if a camera or a microphone shows up, they immediately snap into it and realize that if I say anything outside of the narrative, then I could risk losing my job. I could risk, you're putting it all on the line because what used to be quote unquote free speech is, that ship sailed. All these things have all of these ships have sailed, and we've gotten so far to the point where it's quite obvious at this point in time that they will lambaste you. I mean, do we remember when the talking heads on CNN were saying, "Oh, do your own research"? That's right wing. It's like, dude, just asking a question is now this taboo thing because what they're saying is so absurd, right? From whatever it is, this weirdo lady who's now in charge of schools to obviously the, you know, changing genders and the climate hoax, all of this nonsense. It's all so outrageous that they've beat people into submission properly that even questioning it, even raising the slightest concern that maybe this might not be for me, now turns you into conspiracy theorists, which is really only proving the point of the people who have questions. Am I wrong about that? Maybe. Probably
You're
not
not
though.
wrong.
Like
I'd like
Dr. Shiva, you know, the guy who invented email, like he would say, everybody is wrong, everybody's evil except for me. That's where I'm at on this.
if you recall, she was actually in that Jay-Z music video. She's also in photos with him. She is the artist, creepy artist of the stars. I just have Lady Gaga pulled up because, you know, Lady Gaga accuses this stuff all the time. She's there with her. And then if you didn't believe me, here's the video of the spirit cooking. Let me just reload that. YouTube is funny for some reason on this platform. And it's just here it is, spirit
before
cooking.
you
Go ahead.
1997. Well, before you even play this, this is so far out of the realm, right? Like honestly, she doesn't even have to be doing this to make me believe she's not good for being in charge of schools. Like this is way past the line, right? Like can we just have like a regular person who, you know, has a passion for history or something and like understands things? This is so far beyond, but this is where we are. So
Look what it says on there. Sorry, it was breast milk.
well, breast milk and
Right, not blood. The blood comes
not
from your
blood.
hand.
Okay.
Drink on earthquake nights.
But
So
even
this is
okay. Look.
So this is a person that should be doing schools. This is the person celebrities look up to as like a cool artist. Not that, you know, like that Banksy people that talk about, like I think that stuff is stupid, but like that's like an actual artist that people like look up to and think is cool. And I'm not familiar with him, but maybe he is painting stuff about breast milk and sperm on a wall. I don't know. But like if you're a celebrity, like you see this stuff and you see what she does. There's another one where they had a picture of her. Let's see if I can find it, where they're like, I don't know if it was a cake or if it was just an
Yeah.
image or like a plastic of a dead person that they were eating. Like this is sick stuff. You look at Podesta's art that he's into. I want to know like what kind of people are into this. If you don't believe that it's actually just what they openly admitted to, Satanism or Bohemian Grove type stuff, which is praying to an owl stick god, then on what level can you tell me this is interesting? Because even if you're saying it's just performance art meant to be cool, it's the same with Lil Nas X and what's her face dressing up as Satan, Doja Cat. Like, on what level is this cool and interesting to you?
No,
Zero levels.
Exactly. So yeah, if we want to take the surface level, look, you don't have to go deep down a rabbit hole and say that these people are evil, demonic. You can be completely agnostic about the whole thing. It's still just weird. It's still just even if that's your art, like, dude, like what can we go back to like there's this guy on Instagram who paints like mini canvases of like scenery on a canvas the size of an Altoids can. Right? Can we just have somebody with actual talent? Like this man will paint incredibly detailed I mean it's everyday stuff, him sitting by the pool on a canvas the size of an Altoid can, but that's talent. It's not creepy, it's not demonic. I don't know what he's into, but can we just go back to like a nice still life? Can we I mean, like even if this is all it's just art. It's art. You right-wing conspiracy theorists, you're looking too much into it. Fine. Your art is still bad.
Yeah. That's my point too. The only artist I follow is called Pixel NFL. He makes little 8-bit pixel images of NFL players. That's as far as I'm going into it, Eric.
Fair
we
enough.
can the smooth transition continues. You know, Zelensky did his tour of money begging or demanding, I should say. He doesn't beg, he demands from Canada and the United States, hence why the Jets are saying how great he is. But not only did both political parties stand up and clap for Zelensky in the Canadian Parliament, they also, I don't know if the old Socialist Party of Germany word gets you demonetized further or shadow banned, so I'm going to avoid that one. But a 98-year-old was given a standing ovation by the Canadian Parliament during Zelensky's speech. He was hailed as a hero for fighting against the Russians. Yaroslav Hunk, nice name, Hunk, fought for the 14th Division of the Waffen SS. So he is of the National Socialist Party of the 1930s and 40s. They gave him a standing ovation, Eric. Let's check it out. Just insane undersight, I guess you could call it.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War.
So even the person reading that, Eric, should be like, Ukrainian independence against the Russians in the Second World War. Which sides were fighting against Russia in World War II? So,
now,
it should be of no surprise, Eric. They have their friendly let's call them socialists, fighting for them still today. They've even brought in Al-Qaeda fighters.
They're neo-national socialists?
That's correct.
Okay. Because there was another guy, he was a rapper, and he said some things about those national socialists, and they canceled him completely. They said well, they didn't cancel him. He's completely uncancelable, but he said some things that were maybe a little unsavory about that particular group, and we didn't like that at all. But now we stand up and clap for this one, so I'm just curious where the disconnect here, where that's happening. And I'm sure I'm not the only person to bring up this connection, and I'm also sure that this rabbit hole is really quite deep. But is it just a sheer coincidence that it was only a matter of weeks that we as in Americans pulled out of Afghanistan in a terrible botched, departure, that we were almost instantly flung headfirst into another proxy war?
There can't be any gaps in employment, Your
Okay.
construction company has to go from one project to the next, or else people, they got bills to pay.
Gotcha.
So, this is what happens when you stand and blindly applaud for people because you're a terrible, terrible government official who will just do whatever they told. Doesn't matter who they bring in. You're just going to applaud for whomever the person is. Now, yes, there should be some sort of level of trust that you're there should be some level of trust that your government will not bring in a guy who misuses Hindu religious symbols, let's say. But this is what happens when you blindly applaud for the Ukrainian shill establishment. Now, the Conservative Party did this as well, and they're trying to defend big Pierre Poilievre by saying he barely clapped. He still stood and clapped. You want to be a good guy? You want to make an actual statement? You sit down. I'm not clapping for Zelensky. I'm not clapping. I'm not going to stand and give Putin a standing ovation, even if it's lackadaisical.
If you don't,
then
on
what?
the opposite
Twitter
side. No, but what I'm saying
mean?
is this is the opposite side of the, if you ask one simple question, right? So like you're supposed to blindly clap and enjoy all of this. And if you ask even one question about it and say, well, wait a minute, maybe I don't even really like this guy, then you are now a conspiracy theorist. So those are exact opposite sides of the same coin, right? Like, so just get up and blindly clap like a seal for this guy who we want you to, and if you ask any questions about it, then you're going to be depersoned, right? So it makes perfect sense. And all these people are disgusting. We've known this for obviously quite some time, but like I always say, if they're not going to stop, we're not going to stop, right?
Can't stop, won't stop. Ha 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 ha. So the Speaker of the House, which is a thing we have in Canada, said they're going to release a statement. It's going to be a nothing statement. And Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, came out with a statement on the offensive, which is smart of him for a guy who, just agrees with everything that Ukraine is. He says that they brought over a neo-Nazi. Shouldn't have said it maybe, but I guess the cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah, we walked around it for like the last 5 minutes, and then
all right, we'll be fine. I'm confident in our YouTube guy. the guy, we don't have a YouTube. So he's condemning it, saying that Trudeau shouldn't dance around this one. So he's going to condemn this and say that they brought over this guy that they shouldn't have. They all applauded him, but yet he is all for paying Ukraine all this money. So there's some huge holes in the Canadian Conservative Party, which is why they are largely governed by fear and cowardice, is that they won't say anything bad about Ukraine. They won't say anything bad about transgenderism. They won't say anything bad about immigration. And those are the biggest issues currently facing us, because the immigration affects the housing market and inflation and the job market. Ukraine affects how much money we blow and give away, and the transgenderism affects our children and our girls' sports and everything. And they just
You
won't
don't
say
even
anything.
you don't even have to go that you don't have to go that far back in the grand scheme. What was it, 2018 or 2019? And you can see those collages of all the mainstream media accounts lambasting Ukraine for being corrupt, and that has nothing to do with the National Socialist regime that they got. That may or may not be
Mm-hmm.
on the front lines of this war, whatever it is. So it's just crazy how a handful of years can totally change. I mean, everything, like the Atlantic, Washington Post, everybody was talking about how corrupt Ukraine was. I wasn't on my radar. I wasn't paying attention at that time, but clearly those people were. And now, I mean, I don't even know how they would defend that. I mean, you remember we saw it going viral maybe a year or so ago when this whole sort of thing kind of started. Um, in the little the the collage of headlines was going viral, and
Mm-hmm.
they literally don't even have to address it, because if you question it, you're now the bad guy. And there's people out there who are that, like, again, there's nobody that goes to bat for it. There's only people who stand up to it and people who are brainwashed to not think critically. I mean, and I'm not talking about like, oh, you have to be a deep Jordan Peterson, like deep critical thinker. It's just like, ask yourself just a couple of simple questions and see if this makes any sense at all. Like, you don't have to be, you don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be deep in the weeds and understand all of the history of everything. You just have to be like, wait, hang on, like, does this really make sense? But that is a bridge too far for certain people, unfortunately. And then
Yeah, there's
Zelensky goes out there and starts lecturing us about a climate crisis, and then they prop up that weirdo lady woman, 100%
yeah.
real woman. They prop that person up. I mean, or
Everything
is
about
that not a
Ukraine
slap in the
stinks,
face?
Eric.
I'm sorry. Is that,
It is.
like, do they, no, they don't think we're all that stupid. They can see the comments. Like, even
Yeah, but in order to get the leftist support, they have to play the game, even though there's no Ukrainian person that would just be like, "Yay, transgenderism, amazing!" Like they're Catholics, like, and they have a strong history of defending their country. They've always been religious. They've always hated Russia. Their women are always looking to marry strong men outside of their country. You can watch any reality show, and it'll have a Ukrainian woman looking for an American husband or something to move to America from. All the Ukrainian women in Toronto, Canada, all look like they're millionaires. Like they're not going along with a leftist agenda in their own heart, but in order to continue get these people support, they have to play this game. Like Zelensky is a comedian who was on television and BDSM and dancing nude with guys and stuff. Like they have to show a certain level of loyalty, and on top of that, they've got these plans that they released their own. Like anybody can go look this stuff up, where they wanted to have AI courts and they want to have digital currency and digital IDs. Everything that Ukraine stands for is everything, the UN goals are, the WEF goals are. They literally go lockstep and two smoking barrels, to quote an old movie title, to fall in line with this stuff, because I think, and this, and this is where my theorizing comes in. Apart from all the facts that I just mentioned, I think this is their, left wing Democrat totalitarian utopia that they're building. When everything's going to hit the fan, if it does, of course, I don't have any hope that the Bidens go down or the Clintons go down. I think that if everything goes down, you'll see uh big Hunty and the big guy Joe and Hillary and Bill and Barack and his gay fantasies will all go to Ukraine. They'll all live there in harmony. They'll have their SAM sites, their anti-missile defense things that they want to build. They want to build tons of iron domes. That part's a fact. They want to build tons of missile defense systems in different locations in the city. They'll have their digital currency. They'll make money off of energy exports that they've stolen from other countries. And, they're just going to have all these rich people living in Ukraine, and they're going to make money. They're just going to live in harmony in their weird, like George Soros inspired,
it'll be
Klaus
their
Schwab
new
inspired utopia.
It'll be their new Epstein Island. That's where they're all going to hang out and do disgusting, corrupt stuff.
One thing I wanted to add there, though, you mentioned all the headlines from the beginning of the war. That's exactly right. You can go back before the Ukraine-Russia war started. Look at the headlines about Ukraine, how they bombed their own eastern provinces because there's a lot of Russian people there that speak Russian, wanted to be a part of Russia. That's where this all comes from. Lindsey Graham went over and promised them the world, and they've always been a corrupt country. Russia too, obviously.
Not now,
Russia
not
wants
anymore.
their Soviet
No,
bloc back.
they're not corrupt at all. They're perfect.
My apologies.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Howard Stern.
No,
I've actually been getting.
I think the Kanye story.
No, we can't.
Well, the Kanye story, really quickly.
You want that first?
Really quickly, because I think it connects to this, right? Because we're constantly talking about the, who is a national socialist and who is not, right? And how the Anti-Defamation League is a complete shakedown grievance organization that will stop at nothing to literally prove the quote-unquote conspiracy theorist right every single time, right? The conspiracy theorists will say, well, this certain group of people have control of everything, and that group of people will say, no, we don't, and then shut them up. You see the point? So
what does this headline mean?
Exactly.
And ADL says Adidas CEO apologizes for misstatements. So I'm guessing the CEO of Adidas apologized in the ADL to the ADL, and now they're acknowledging that.
Let me read it. Anti-Defamation League says Adidas CEO apologizes for misstatement about Kanye West. So the ADL has now gone out there and said, we had a private conversation with the CEO and he apologized to me for not bashing Kanye West. Like, think about this, bro. The ADL is so up in arms that they are coming out and saying, well, yes, we talked to him and he apologized. There's nobody left, bro. You're now apologizing on behalf of somebody else because you want to still pretend that you have the upper hand, even though you don't. When the guy, did you see the clip of the CEO? Basically,
no, I have not.
Basically, what he said is, I don't think Kanye.
Right here?
I don't think Kanye's. The short clip that went viral. I don't know. I mean, I think he was on a podcast or something, but he basically said, I mean, yeah, you could read part of the quotes, but I'll paraphrase it. He's not that bad of a guy. He's one of the most creative people. The collaboration sold well, and I don't think he meant what he said. And I would go out and say, he did mean what he said, but he's not the most articulate man on the planet. So he's not phrasing it right. He's not doing it right. He's also, in my humble opinion as a Kanye fan, obviously, he's jumping out the window in an effort, this is me giving him the benefit of the doubt, to move the window back, right? We've gotten so extreme with things that you can and can't say. Russell Brand is being demonetized for allegations from 15 years ago. He can go out there and say the wildest thing in hopes of pushing the window back, like pushing the Overton window, as they say, back towards the center and not into this crazy propagandistic left-wing bubble that it's in right now, where you can't even admit that a man is actually a man. It's gone completely beyond the pale. Sorry, my light is like flickering here. But that's what I think is happening. And the ADL, the weirdo political authoritarian hacks that they are going out and telling people about a private conversation in which a man who didn't talk down on Kanye West apparently apologized. Think about the levels to this, bro. It's ridiculous. Like, just the man, he didn't say, I hate Kanye West and I'm so glad we got rid of the collaboration, so that won't work for the ADL. It was quite obviously the most successful collaboration that Adidas has seen since Run DMC. Exponentially more successful than that back in the 80s or whatever it was, which kind of put them on the map in that urban, so to speak. So the ADL, I mean, they just take L after L after L. I don't know who's still on board with them, right? I mean, you could have Ben Shapiro, who wears a yarmulke on every single one of his episodes, is not going to be on board with the ADL. So who's left, bro?
Nobody likes that Jonathan Greenblatt guy, and after them being exposed for and basically admitting that they require platforms to ban certain people and do certain things, hearsay, unknown, conjecture, Your Honor, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but basically the Twitter files and Elon Musk alluded to the fact that they require you to play ball in order for them to not
Yeah, it's a shakedown. It's a
talk
shakedown.
bad about you. Yeah, shakedown is the word that they used. I don't think anybody really likes that Jonathan Greenblatt guy. He doesn't do a very good job of saying, like, if he was to come out and be like, listen, we think this is these platforms are bad for doing that, and we condemn them allowing these people on. Nobody would have a problem with that. But if they have conversations with advertisers and say, hey, just want to let you know, like, I'm sure they're very smart in their wording that they use. Just want to let you know that these people are Alex Jones is on such and such his platform. You might look a certain way if you advertise with them, and that's what's happening with Russell Brand now.
And that's exactly what
is you get this whole coordinated attack.
Al Sharpton and Jesse James used to do back in not Jesse James,
Jesse Jackson,
Jesse Jackson,
motorcycle guy Jesse James.
They used to do back pre-social media when they would go around to businesses in New York and say, "Well, you wouldn't want the word to get out that you guys are sort of you could be considered racist." It's a shakedown. It's 100% mob tactics, and we're just supposed to be okay with
the Black Panthers used to do too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about them, to be honest with you, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So that's what they do. That's what you know, and it's just so painfully obvious to anybody with an IQ above room temperature that this is exactly what's happening. And they're using the little hats as their shield, right? Just like, I mean, Kamala Harris is a human shield for Joe Biden, and she shields herself like whatever. She's Indian one day, she's Asian the next day, she's black the next day. Like, just do as I say, otherwise you will be called a word that we have called everybody so much to the point where it holds no more meaning.
I wanted to think of the who was it that said something? I don't remember anymore. It was some CNBC show that was a really good interview. I don't remember, but there's one group of hosts on CNBC that are pretty good, and they had a good exchange with that Greenblatt guy, and he did not come off well. And of course, the show is very critical of anything that ends in NBC, but I think that's is a pretty good interview. Howard Stern is defending woke. Now, I was trying to mention earlier that I've been watching old clips of Howard Stern. There's a glory year Howard Stern era, which I would say is maybe 1999, 2000 to about 2011, whenever Artie Lang left the show because he was addicted to heroin. Excuse me. Cough was not intentional. But when he was on the show, everything was hilarious. When they moved to Sirius Satellite Radio, everything was hilarious constantly. But ever since then, he was supposed to retire.
Did you say 2011?
I think so, yeah.
Is that Rona? Is that a Rona
maybe 2009?
Well, because 2011 might just be the same year that Twitter started popping. Like, I blame Twitter for a lot of things that we're dealing with right now. And I don't think I'm the only one.
He was supposed to retire, and there was a big thing. They talked about it on the show, and then he's like, okay, I'll sign for 3 more years or something, but I'm going to do only 4 days a week. And then that happened 3 or more times, and now he does like 2 or 3 days a week, and he's just so grouchy, and they started, elevating his guests. He's got Hillary Clinton, it's Jamie Foxx, it's Alec Baldwin. It's only, top, like the highest tier of guest, if you will, like the highest level of celebrity. And now he just sounds like an old grouch. Let's see if this clip works.
Oh yeah, this is just a story though. Yeah, that's not like
there's audio of him in this. If New York Post wants to work. There we go, it should work.
I thought this was just a recap of the story.
No, there's audio of him. I heard it earlier.
Oh.
Trump.
Come on now. We can do it. I just hear ticking.
Oh, sorry. That's the clock. I gotta take that thing down.
I'm going to try it one more time. I won't touch it, though, this time. I'll just keep unmuting it. Oh, thanks, New York Post.
I forgot. Meant to take that thing down, and I forgot.
You can do it. Now it mutes it again.
Get behind Trump.
Okay, that's all it wants to play. Howard Stern says he takes it as a compliment when critics call him woke, declaring, "I am woke, MFer, and I love it." I hear that a lot, and I'm not good anymore because I'm woke, said Stern, a vocal critic of his erstwhile friend, President Trump. By the way, I kind of take it as a compliment that I'm woke. He said, "I'll tell you how I feel about it. To me, the opposite of being woke is being asleep," Stern said. "And if woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, dude, call me as woke as you effing want," Stern added. Now,
which is what I think it means, or that
I
support people who want to be trans.
Okay, you got the gist of it. But Eric, the best part about this, which I'm sure there's diehard Stern fans that stick with him no matter what, is, transgenderism and stuff was mocked constantly. It's like the same thing as Eminem, right? Everything that you mocked, and now it's only like 10 years later, all of a sudden you're an old man. He's like 60 something. Eminem's in his 40s. All of a sudden your opinion changes on this dramatically
Just like
because you've been watching CNN.
Just like the 180 on Ukraine that we just spoke about. It just everything just flips 180 degrees, and you just why would you question that? Don't question it. Don't be a bigot. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. Don't be on the right wing. Just wear it, idiot. It's absolutely ridiculous. Same thing with Dr. Fauci. It took a year for Dr. Fauci to go from "it's not providing the perfect protection that you think it is" to "why not wear 3?" It's ridiculous. It's all absolutely insane. And Howard Stern, it's very clear that what he's doing is just, I mean, he's literally saying it in the quote there. We didn't really get a good, the good audio, but you read the quote. He's quite literally saying, I'll say whatever you need. Like, just I'll do it. If it's anti-Trump, if it's about transgenders, if it's about the vaccines, like, just I'll do it. I'll do it. Just like, yeah, I'm woke. It's like, dude, you don't even know what's happening, bro. Like, are you hard up for cash? Just go away, retire, enjoy your twilight years. What are you doing, bro? Like,
I ran out Friday morning to get the newest vaccine. I was over at CVS. Thank you, CVS. I went over there at 9 a.m. and got myself that new vaccine for COVID. Effing science. This effing country is so great. I am woke, MFer, and I love it. I can only imagine if anyone ever listened to Howard Stern back in the day, even if it was briefly and you got the gist of it. Imagine him praising CVS. Imagine him, unless it was to run out and get some chips in the morning. Imagine him praising the vaccines. Imagine him praising the government constantly. It just goes to show you how blind we all were to this 20 years ago, where somebody praised something and the entirety of the media and late night television and talk shows all made you think that this was the correct point of view. They didn't make you think that there was no other point of view out there, but they didn't explain it, and they made you think that anybody who is a Republican or anything else, not that I'm a Republican, but anybody who is any of any other view is just, those are just the crazy people. And of course, if you're a Republican, it's an insane thing to be. And they never quite explained how that could be half of the country, and how George Bush could win the election twice, and how they never mentioned Ronald Reagan when we were growing up as the president, or George Bush Sr. was joked about, but they never mentioned before that because, the Bushes are easily joked about, and so was Clinton. But they never explained, and nobody ever questioned the fact that how could that be half of all America?
yeah.
That is so-called in this crazy group of rednecks,
Yes, because you're not supposed to ask any questions. And look, if you want to get incredibly conspiratorial about it, and they obviously knew this well before or before we knew it, but bro, Obama was the Obama was kind of like their last hope. Like, we got to do this. If anybody stands up against this guy, we're going to call him racist. We're going all in, right? Because if you recall, it wasn't really that bad at that point in time. It wasn't to the point where everything was being. Remember, there was the clip. I don't know if I sent it to you. There's the clip of a Scary Movie, I think it is, which of course the Wayans brothers directed, and it's a white guy dropping the M-bomb, and it's all hilarious. Everybody had a good laugh. There's there's all this old, obviously Sarah Silverman and Fallon or whatever, or was it Kimmel or Fallon? I always get a mix. Kimmel doing the blackface and nobody cared, right? So somewhere along the line, it became, it literally just became maybe authoritarian. I don't know what it was, but they tricked you into saying that, hey, this is the only way. If you were to ask any questions about any of it, then we're gonna lambast you. And then it just went through the roof with Donald Trump. For what? Because look, was he gonna put anybody in jail? Was he gonna lock her up? No, he wasn't gonna do any of that stuff. He wasn't probably gonna do anything. I mean, except for lower tax. It was like regular Republican stuff. Like, none of it was that crazy, but there was something that he did that put the fear of God in them, right? And that's, I mean, it's beyond the pale, bro. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, to your point, they made you believe that there was no other option. There was no other line of thought. And the people in the middle of the country, of flyover country, as they say, were completely insane. And that was also, last thing, that was also before you had Twitter and you had Instagram and you had Facebook and you had all that. You had what, 6 networks pumping you full of the same thing, and you couldn't get a second opinion, right? And then there's people who I won't name that still think those little handful of news outlets are telling the truth. And it's like, dude, they probably weren't telling the truth in the 80s or 90s. It's just that you had nothing else to compare it to. You couldn't, quote unquote, do your own research, which is now, of course, I mean, how dare you do your own research? You're not a doctor. What do you want to kill? It's ridiculous.
Imagine being subjected to that, where you got to believe the newspapers, knowing what the New York Times and Washington Post are like now. It is a crazy thing to think about. And I think about it often, where I have memories of literally anything in the media or anything that can have a viewpoint that's political or ethical. Sometimes I think back, like, what messages in The Simpsons or something did I miss? Because you look at some of them when you're older and you're just like, okay, they did a pretty good job of it, of making fun of both sides, but also, they just pick and choose. There's very political episodes in that, and they pick and choose in that. So it's interesting to go back and look at things and see what you might have missed. And I can't imagine like how people grew up thinking, oh, the guy on the TV is telling the truth. But we've all lived like that, unfortunately. And one of the times I'll always remember, for some reason or another, was when Trump was in office, and he was saying how bad Sweden has gotten from Islamic immigration. And if you know anything about Sweden and that stuff, the city called Malmo had a lot of Islamists in it, I'll call it, and they had an epidemic, let's say, or at least of a frequent enough occurrence that it became something to worry about, of grenades being thrown at police stations and stuff like that in Malmo, Sweden. And Trump was saying it's very bad over there. And then the Swedish government, unnamed Swedish official, just says Swedish government, on John Oliver's show, he pulls up a quote and says, the Swedish government says, we have no idea what Trump's talking about. And that's the exact example where it's like, okay, Trump is crazy and evil, says John Oliver. And then look at this. Sweden is just saying we have no idea what he's talking about. And Sweden obviously is part of the sane group. There's no person named on this. There's no political party. It's just like that this country as a whole can present a talking point, and that is to be taken at face value no matter what.
Yes.
Because my bias is telling me that, yes, okay, Trump is crazy and everybody else agrees that he is crazy. Move on to the Music Video Awards, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
And if you think about it, Eric, that's what led to Tim Pool blowing up when he was at Vice and then went to Sweden in the no-go zones because people said that those weren't real.
Yeah, and then they were 100% real, as I understand it. Yeah, man. I look. They've completely. They're in there. I hope, and I could always be wrong, but this is why. Again, everything is so extreme. It's like, because there's not gonna come a point where they're gonna say, "All right, maybe we were wrong about that. We'll take our foot off the gas." They can't. They're not gonna embarrass themselves like that. Whether it's the media regime, the political regime, they're not going to say, all right, like they will, like they've kind of like backtracked on the like defund the police thing, but not real. They're not saying, hey, we were wrong about that. They're just pretending it never happened. Like the lady was in Minneapolis or something who got beat up, or Chicago or whatever. She got beat up and or got carjacked, and it's happening in California too. They're like, well, we need more. And it's like, you don't remember 2 years ago when you deemed every single police officer racist and said you didn't need them? They're just pretending because, as we know, any sort of pattern recognition, any sort of memory beyond the past 48 hours is a conspiracy theory. Like that, just don't believe your lying eyes. We're the ones that are going to tell you. And as they're in these death throes and amazing shows and podcasts like this continue to take over, they're going to die. Look at even what is it on NBA Finals is all promoting YouTube TV. I mean, even right now, NFL is on Amazon Prime. Like, so you don't turn on channel 7 or 4 or whatever it is anymore. They're gone. It's over. So their lies, their schemes, it's all completely. They're grasping at straws to maintain power, but it's over. Same thing with the Democratic Party. But I repeat myself, or I shouldn't even say Democratic Party. I should say the establishment hack regime. Okay, because as we all well know, it's the cool thing is to blame both sides, but the realistic thing, in my humble opinion, I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, is there is a lesser of two evils. There just is. Like you want to.
I agree with that 100%. I've never met, Eric, a person who's just like somebody I respect intellectually and shares a lot of opinions that I think are pretty general in the sense that they're very smart, and no matter what side of the political aisle you be on, you would think that person's right. I've never heard a person like that speak and then found out, oh, they're a Democrat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or not. I'm not a Republican. There's like 5 of them that I like, but there are 0 Democrats that
Lauren
I like.
Boebert.
I mean, there is an that is not. Matt Gaetz comes to mind first for me, you sicko. But you're right. There is an obvious lesser of two evils, and that's like, I think that goes without saying. Let's do some shout outs here before we get going. Lyle Crawford in the chat. He says he laughed at Trump about Sweden until he looked it up. Scotland Scorpion. Britain is slowly turning to Malmo. I've been watching a Scottish or English guy do eating challenges on YouTube. Polly Walnut says Howard Stern is a coward, and shout out to me. Thank you.
I love the Polly Walnut's whatever profile pic, dude. The frog with the Polly Walnut's wings. That's kudos to him on that. I hope he's still watching.
Some guy named Brooklyn Bloke was raging about something about our Satanism stuff. And showed out Salty Duke, who is in the Rumble chat. A lot of Rumble viewership being shown lately. And of course, we will leave you with patreon.com/UOPod, which is our great thing. We're going to have a guest this week, Eric. This is news to you, but we are supposed to be having a guest for our bonus podcast this week. And we got another sign up yesterday. So go ahead and go to patreon.com/UOPod, where you will be seeing us every week. I also premiered my latest streeter video on there.
I'm going to have some good streeters too. Some good AI streeters coming out as well on my channel also.
Very good. And you can sign up. You can see that stuff with early access. I put up there 4 days before anywhere else in full. If you want to help us become Joe Rogan and have a $100 million contract, or you want us to be the Raptors super fan who somehow affords going to front row at every Toronto Raptors game, or if you truly want to be an authorized person and get any of these and all of these benefits from signing up, go to patreon.com/UOPod. The bonus pod's up every week, Eric.
And
it's uncensored.
And I just want to say shout out. Yeah.
We wear bubble wrap.
What?
That's it. We're nude on the podcast.
Oh, jeez. Show feet. Open Bobs. Open Bobs. Yeah, shout out Brooklyn Blow.
Please show Bob's and Vagine.
Yeah, I'm glad our content is reaching across the aisle and has angered somebody. This is exactly the one I'm looking at right now. The Satanist celebrity thing is
What's he got here?
because the alt-right, like, dude, what year?
The alt-right. Holy shit, you guys, the alt-right's back.
But like because you want to talk about like Abramovich spirit cooking like now makes you a Bible thumper. It's like, dude, okay.
A woman who openly does satanic sacrifice or rituals and does them with celebrities is an alt-right conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, you're a Bible thumper, bro. All right, good. And shout out, we're still working on the new set, so yeah, buy my book.
Yep, I think for next week we'll have your background looks good.
Cool. I'm working on it. We're gonna get
in a bit of a cabin.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to keep it classy. So we'll work on the lighting. We'll work on the sound. As you can see, where is it? My book. Go ahead and buy that. Yeah. So we're tweak. We're working out the kinks. I feel like I can't even say kinks now because they've taken that. But
you got to get a pride flag back there, the one with the circle for Two Spirit.
Spirit cooking. My book though.
Turn it up, Jordan.